It's a nice morning. Got some birds all over the place. Horse is eating. Look at Lena go crazy. It's a fresh bag, so she goes nuts for it. Rawr. I got Zeus with me, but I thought I would sit down here and talk to you guys a little bit. I thought I'd talk to you guys a little bit about heels, and we've got a lot of videos to do about hooves, and I'm working on a little bit of a course. I always kind of get a little bit cautious of what I announce, but I definitely want to do a course on recognizing hoof stuff and some trimming. I got a lot of videos, but I don't have them all put together properly into something that makes sense. And I get questions about hooves. One actually even came in today, says I want to bring my horse on trail rides without being shod. How can I do that? And I just think in my head, I just thought, how can you not do it? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at the moment, because every horse that I take out is barefoot and it doesn't affect them. But it's that concern, or that wonder is real. A lot of people wonder it. And in yesterday's video, whenever you guys watch this, it might not be yesterday for you, but for me it's yesterday, I talked about Gracie's feet a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. And I primarily want to talk about heels. Now, I've got a cadaver foot with me here. I want to use this as an example because it's easy to do while sitting down. And we're also going to flip back to Gracie's feet from a couple of years ago, and also to her feet, what they look like now, and why we get there, and why in reality actually her feet are healthier, or were healthier now, but in comparison to what a horse with no heels, or very low heels, and I'll show you here, this foot here also has what would be determined as low heels. The plane of landing here, like this. Anyways, we'll talk about that in a second. But her heels were very tall, incredibly tall, enough to appear as a club foot, as defined by some as a club foot, and that's a big deal. Real club feet, hers are not, but real club feet are, it's a birth defect. The real ones, the not so real ones, I guess, can sort of be, trimmed that way or not trimmed that way. She wasn't trimmed enough. So, but the heels of the horse are incredibly important, and they're easy to destroy and hard to recover, both ways, both tall and short. And this hoof here has an angle that is too much this way, and hers were too much upright, and that balance between just right actually has there's real physics to what is going to be quite healthy, but getting there doesn't always go easy. It doesn't always go well. But the heels of the horse are really, really important, and we can sort of determine. So from an outside, because I try to think of the process that when I go trim a horse, or brand new horse, or anything like that, I go and take a look and I see, what can I look at from the outside? What can I observe without x-rays or medical equipment that would allow me to look even closer in there? What can I observe from the outside? And the first look you're always going to get is when you're standing next to the horse. And this is a back foot, so it's a little bit different, but and you might be wondering, well, how do you know? Horse is dead. Do you know the horse? No. I collect these from a place that processes dead horses, and they keep some of the legs for, because they get a lot of requests for people that want them from the schools, or our school. We have one school here, and some veterinarian facilities that want them as well. So they keep some legs off to the side for said requests. But anyways, I know it's a back foot because it's got such a shape to it, like a very oval and not circular. Front feet are generally much more circular, and the back feet, this foot is a little pointy, and it's okay-ish, but it's too pointy. So anyways, we'll talk about that in another video, but I really want to talk about heels and why and how you can determine what is a healthy heel or not. And we're going to zoom in just on the hoof for now. Hopefully it will zoom in. Okay, so it will. So what we can observe from this, and also if we look back here as well, we can see there's some issues back here. But what I really want to observe, or for you to observe, is you can see a curve coming down. These rings and these curves. See that? That's not good. That is going to be your very first indication that there's something wrong with the foot. It should not be drawing downwards like that. It should be relatively straight. Those lines, there are going to be these little, I don't know, crimps or lines or rings, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. But they're going to be visual indicators. And here, let's see if I can show this side. Really shows it. We get the light. I'm kind of out here at the right time where I can sort of bounce the light correctly. But this, if we look here, it comes and then it just drops back down here. This should head straight across. And also the hairline gives it away too. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You know, crash. Those are crashed heels. Some people call them crushed heels. I call them crashed heels because they're crashing into the ground and they should not be, or the back of the foot is. And so when we look back on Gracie's feet, this is why her feet are actually a fantastic example to look at, because it's not nearly as common as these crashed heels. You know, the ones that smash into the ground, and they're hard to fix. But that said, Gracie's feet have been 2 years in the making, and I think I finally got them tamed, I guess we could call it. But it takes a while, so it takes just about as long, I feel. And Martine had put in a comment on one saying how she had seen farriers come in and they just chop those heels to make the hairline match what they think the hairline should look like. So instead of, say, if we get rid of this view here, instead of the zoom in, you know, look at me. You know, if we were to imagine, come on camera, there we go. If we were to imagine, like, if her hoof came down here, right, and it was all the way down, this heel came all the way down here, and the hairline's straight, somebody, of course this one's curved, but somebody would say, well, the hairline should be some degrees to the ground, and they would chop off the heels. And then they would, oh, it's a squirrel, and then they would attach something like some kind of shoe with a false, you know, extension of heel on, and it's crazy talk. It's like, why did you chop it all off to get instead just take your time. And rebuilding the heels is the same thing, but there is a part of it that is a little bit harder. And as I said, this foot is very ovally, and it should be a little less ovally because the toes are too long. But putting aside exactly how to, or there, I don't even know if there's an exact rule. There are some things to follow that will assist. And but recognizing that there is a big problem in heels starts from observing, you know, what we've got when we look at a hoof from the outside. And you can see here, this one is definitely not what we want to see the heels to look like. And then if we look at the bottom though, we can see there's a particular amount of sole here and over here, and geez, it looks kind of about right and all that kind of stuff, but it actually is not. And the reason we would know, if we would be able to look at this and say, well, is it about right? Yeah, it's pretty good. We've got a little bit of a gap, you know, the sole's not on the ground, the seat of the corn, yeah, it doesn't look, you know, there's a little bar here, blah, blah, blah. And we'll discuss that again in the future, but from the outside, it's really, really important that we figure out. So that leads back to this thought process. Well, how does a horse stay sound? You know, how do you keep them sound? She says, how can I continue to ride my horse without shoes? Well, hopefully it doesn't look a heck of a lot like this foot where it's got crimped in, heel bulbs and the heel is crushed under here and crashing down onto the ground and stuff. But if it is, the important thing to do actually is to maintain a decent heel and work more on the toe. The heels are going to be where they land. Horses land like that. And so if we think about the physics of landing like this, we want these, I better zoom in again. We want these lines, come on. We want these lines here to, what am I going to do? There. We want these lines to be perpendicular to the landing process, right? These are not perpendicular to landing. They are getting close to parallel. These lines here and these lines here will tell you an awful lot of whether or not a heel is healthy on a horse. And then also the frog matters too, but we're talking about heels. We're talking about heels for now. And so you really, really want those to be perpendicular. And so that's what Gracie's are. That's why hers are a little bit easier to maintain her soundness and healthiness, because we don't have to be so worried about these tubules, they're called, crushing under and then the heel come crashing down onto the ground. She's the opposite problem, which is unusual. Anyway, so that's sort of my spiel on heels. And so that's what I'm always searching for. I'm always searching to get the physics of the foot working correctly by not having these heel tubules crushing under, going parallel, more parallel. Some are very parallel to the ground, and those are very unhealthy and very uncomfortable horses. You'll have a very hard time getting them to feel good. Protection for that can be boots. You might be wondering, well, what do I do? Do I shoe them again? You could put boots on them. You know, just keep this area from being impacted too much, especially under riding on rocks and all that kind of stuff. And you want to continue to grow it. We're going to essentially be growing it back up that way, you see. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions, let me know. I'll do another part to this, because heels are a really big deal, and a lot of people, professionals included, have trouble bringing them back to where they should be. It can be quite the process. So hopefully that works well. If not, tell me and I will cover more. Yeah, that's it for now.